Hello, and welcome to CRI's presentation on Cost Point Enterprise Reporting, also referred to as CER and Cognos. Today, I'm going to review the basic features of Cognos CER. So, what is CER? It's pretty much a web-based tool for business intelligence. It enables users to create ad hoc queries for self-service reporting. It allows users to, without technical knowledge, to extract data, to answer questions, to make better business decisions. For example, how much was spent on a vendor for a project, maybe in a particular year, or if we want to see how much hours are being charged against a project in a particular period, whether it be a month, a week, a year, whatever the criteria may be. So with Query Studio, Query Studio is the first step for someone that's learning CER. After that, there is also Report Studio. But with CER, you can do simple queries. Again, like I said before, no technical knowledge is needed or very minimal. And common or basic functionality would be filtering, sorting, creating summaries, calculations, grouping data, data formatting, and then conditional formatting. And I'll go through most of these as an example of how this is done. So on the screen you'll see some icons. These aren't all the icons that are available in Query Studio. I've kind of omitted ones that I felt were basic, such as saving or save as, or creating a new Query Studio report, or ones that I felt were too complex and that we weren't going to cover in this presentation. So I'm just going to kind of go through these. I have an explanation there on the screen, but the scissor pretty much allows you to cut columns from a report. It's not delete. People do confuse the two. This is to cut to then paste to another place within the report. So right below that we have one with a clipboard here, and that's the paste feature. And what will happen is it will paste, when you click this button, it will paste what you cut in the previous step to the left side of your current selection. And I'll display that when we do a sample example. The X here is for deleting. If you have a column with data in it that you don't need on the report anymore, you would go ahead and click on the delete or the X here. I like to call this the play button. It's really the run. And if you have prompts, or if you're displaying the report with limited data, if you were to click the run button, it'll show you all the data. The filter icon here allows you to pretty much select which values you want to see on your report. So say where you ran a report through periods 1 through 12, and you only want to see period 3 data, you would hit this filter icon and you would filter on period 3. The suppress icon here, pretty much if there's values where there are no, I shouldn't say values, there's zeros or empty cells in those values, then pretty much we can suppress it. So rather than writing a formula or filtering on it, you would just click that and it would take care of that for you. Sorting, pretty basic, just allowing you to sort ascending or descending numbers or letters. Summarize, allows you to pretty much calculate totals, counts, minimums, maximums, averages, calculations. If you want to calculate on a particular field or two fields together to come up with the sum, that's what calculate is for. The chart here pretty much is going to create a chart if you've used Excel before, similar functionality. Group, it'll just sort data for you and group it by whatever column it is that you've grouped on. And it'll eliminate pretty much duplicate values when you do the group. So you'll see one value and then all subsequent data for that value that you grouped on. Pivot changes pretty much if you have a tabular view to a cross tab. So you could have, say you have like a financial report, and you have accounts going vertical up and down, and you probably want periods going left and right, going horizontally across, and then maybe the values for that intersection for a period and account would be in the meat, I would say, of the report at the intersection. This ungroup here, pretty much if you've grouped something and you've decided the grouping is not what you're looking for, that's what the ungroup feature is for, or icon. Sections, I would say it's similar to grouping, except it splits out your data in kind of like different tables, different views, and that's what sections are for. Swapping, if you've done the pivot table and you decided, hey, the data going across should really be going down and the data going down should really be going across, that's what the swap feature is for. Collapse group and expand group, those two, if you've done a grouping and there's some data in there you don't care for, or doesn't make much sense to display on the report, we could collapse that so that you're only seeing the dollar values, for example. And I'll show you a better example as we get along here. And then obviously the expand is if you've collapsed a group, we can expand it up again. These icons, they're data source icons. You'll see them towards the left of your when you're writing your reports. Not going to go through it in detail like I did the other one. These pretty much explain, and you can reference back to these, what those images mean. And I'll probably refer to some of these names, so when I say namespace, for example, you'll know exactly what I'm referring to and what icons they mean. So when you are pulling a field, you can reference this legend here. Okay, so I am going to start creating a report. And to create a report, obviously you would need access. So your administrator would grant that access to you. I found that when doing Query Studio reports, Internet Explorer and Firefox work best for me. When we move to Report Studio reports, right now Internet Explorer is all I can use. So just make sure you're in a browser that works. Otherwise, you won't be able to move forward, or you might not see some of the icons or have some of the capabilities that the application provides. Okay, so to start a Query Studio report, once you've logged in, again, the web address, if this is web-based, so the web address would be given to you by an administrator. You would go ahead and click on the launch icon, and you would go ahead and click on Query Studio to get to the Query Studio or the next page. Once you select that, you would select the package where you want to pull your data from. In this case, I'm actually going to use the GL package. in this screenshot here that you see referring to the accounts payable package, but you would just select it. And as you warm up to the application and run more reports, you'll know which packages to run reports from. It's just something you learn, not much that someone can teach you. Okay. So after clicking or selecting your package, you will be in this screen that you see here. And we are actually going to start creating our report. Okay. The first thing I like to do, and I highly recommend that everyone running a Query Studio report do, or when creating one, I should say, is either go to this menu here to the left side, and there's this Run Report option. Either select Preview with limited data or Preview with no data. I personally like doing limited data because I like to see the data out there. And the reason I recommend that is if you run it with all data and create your report that way, it pretty much, the processing time is very long. So by selecting one of these two options here, it minimizes the long processing times, and it won't tax your system either. So I'm going to go ahead and say Preview with limited data. And you'll see when I did that, it's kind of changed it here to let you know that, hey, you will be viewing your data in limited view. I'm going to go back here to the Insert Data portion, and these are pretty much the top level namespaces. And you want to make sure that you only work within one top level namespace. You don't want to pull data, for example, from financial reporting and cash management. You may or may not get data if you pull from both of those. But I tell you, if you do get data, most likely it's going to be wrong data. So when creating your reports, always stay within one of these top level. In this case, there's only 4. And we're going to be using financial reporting. So when I pull my data, everything should be within financial reporting. It should not be within the other 3 namespaces that we see here. Okay, so for this report, I am going to provide a title first, because that, to get started. And this title, as you can see when I click on this title, opens up the edit title area, and that's where I'm going to give it the title, and I'm just going to say vendor expenses. And for my subtitle, I'm going to say vendor IDs starting with 000, projects starting with C. This is just free form, so you type in what you want your subtitle to be. It's not required that you provide anything in here. You could leave it blank. Down here, as we apply filters, sorting, or suppress data, it will show you what we've applied. If you don't want to see this, you would just uncheck these boxes, and as we start our actually creating the report, you'll see what I'm referring to. I like to show these at least until I'm done with the report, and maybe after I'm done with the report we can go ahead and uncheck this, but I like to see what I'm limiting the data on while I'm actually creating the report. Go ahead and click OK. Okay, now I'm going to start selecting or inputting data into the report, and I'm going here to transactional details. Again, as you play with Query Studio, you will know where these items or the data sits. That's really not something that someone can teach you. As you run more and more of these reports, you will know where the data sits. And even times I'll have to go look for a field, so it's not something that is, concrete. So I'm going to GL summary, and I'm going to put in fiscal year. So I can drag this in here, or I'm going to go ahead and put project ID. I could go ahead and double click. Or there's another option. Okay, so I want to put ID type, which is not here. ID type will actually be under GL detail. ID type, I can select this field, and as you see down here, there's an insert. Click on that. There is also an ID field. I want that. And there is an amount. I want that. Okay. I save a lot. There's been times where I've spent a lot of time creating a report, forgetting to save, and then pretty much lose everything I've done. So I would highly recommend, after you've entered a few fields or data items, or entered some filters or whatnot, to go ahead and save your report to make sure you don't lose the work you've done. So I'm going to go ahead and save this report, and I'll just call this CRI CER. Let's do this. Citation. And down here, you'll see where I'm saving it. I'm going to select my folders, and I'm going to click OK. Actually, my folders, and then I have presentation, and I will put it under presentation, and then I will click OK. You can provide a description if you want. I will leave that field blank. Okay, now we want to filter the data that we see here. So if I click on this column here, we're going to filter on year 2013. I could right click and click on filter here, or I can click on the filter icon here that we went over previously. Okay. Right now, this database only has data for 3 years, so you're going to see the 3 available data values. And I want 2013, so I can check this box here. Over here to the right, you'll see prompt every time the report runs. So say, for example, the next time you run it, you maybe want 2014 or you want 2012. By clicking this checkbox, and when you run this report, it will first prompt you for the year this report should run for. So if you want to do that, then you can go ahead and click on this. In this case, I right now just want to look at 2013, so I'm just going to keep 2013 here. I'm going to leave this unchecked. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Okay, next I'm going to only show VID types, and in this case the V stands for vendor. Again, as you get to know the data, you will know what the different codes stand for. We're going to follow the same steps here. I'm going to click on filter. And it should display, and it's not. So let's just save this, make sure I don't lose. Okay. And as you can see, we see different ID types here, and I just want V for vendor. This report is for vendors only, so I only care for vendor data. Now it's saying we have filtered for 2013, and now we're also applying a filter for ID type of B. Okay. Next, we have the project ID, and for project, I only want projects that start with C. So if I select the project, again, I'm going to click on filter. This time, instead of looking for data here and selecting every project that starts with C, I'm going to click on search for values. When I click on search for values, I can type the letter C here and search. And it's not working, so let's try again. I'm going to save, filter. Okay, back here we're searching for values. Letter C. Search. And it should display something. There are, while it's thinking here, I'm going to just kind of go over these options. So you have these different options that you could select. Starts with, or if it contains any of these or all of these keywords, you do have that option. In this case, I just want starts with. And it's not displaying. So hopefully this works. If not, we will just move forward. And it's working this time. So we're going to select all C values. I'm going to insert to say I want to show. And I could say, hey, do not show any other ones starting with C, but in this case I want to say show all projects starting with C. I'm going to click on OK. And this is just kind of reviewing all the filters that I've applied so far. OK. And I'm going to save. And I'm going to come here to ID type, and this is probably meaningless, just to show you, continue with the filtering. I just care for ID type or IDs that start with 3 zeros. So again, we're just going to filter. Again, I could click on every value that has zeros, or I could say search for values. Type in 3 zeros, search. I'm going to select all. You could pick and choose if you want. Insert and OK. And OK again. And save. Okay. Next, I'm going to go to the amounts column here. And I am going to suppress 0 values or divide by, we are not dividing right now, or null. But if they were there, we could remove them because it's meaningless data, at least in this report that I'm running. So I could come down here and I could say suppress rows. And now it's telling you here it's suppressing 0 values, divide by 0 values, missing values, overflow values. And I'm going to save. Next, I'm going to group my information on project ID. So I've selected the project ID, and I'm selecting on group, on the group icon. I'm going to do the same for the ID column. Okay, and I'm just saving. And now you'll see it summarized the data automatically after we've grouped, but it didn't actually give you the total. This is because I'm running it in the limited data view. If I come down here to the bottom and say run once with all data, you'll see that it's now summarizing the data. Of course, we only have one line, so it's pretty much duplicating the numbers. If we had multiple lines per vendor, you'd see more data. Okay, now just to show you the functionality, I don't care for the 2013 fiscal year or the ID type of V, so there's a couple ways I can do it. If I want to just collapse so that I'm only showing the project ID, the ID column, and the amount, I could click here to say collapse group, and you'll see now those two other data columns are no longer there. I'm going to expand the group again to display the data, and now it's back to where it was before. Other way you could do this is you could select the column and you could cut the data, or sorry, delete the data. When I try to delete the data, I still want to apply the filter of 2013, even though the data is not going, that item is not going to be in there. So I uncheck this. I still want the filter to apply. I could click OK, and now you see that column is missing. I just hit the undo button to go back to where we were. To apply sorting, so when we do groupings, CER will automatically sort by the first grouping and then sort by the second grouping. If you want to change the sort order, you could do that. Just select the field here and you can click on sort. The first time you click on it, it'll sort ascending. If you click on it again, it will sort descending, as you can see here. So I'm just going to go back to the collapse view that we had previously. Now I'm going to display pretty much the way the data is formatted. So say I want to show 3 decimal places or 1 decimal, or no, maybe whole numbers. I can do that. And the way we do that, you could right click and you could say format data, or if you go to the edit menu, you have format data here as well. Okay, so it's right now it's set as default, but we want to set it as a number, and maybe we don't want any decimal places, and we may do want 1,000 separator. So now you'll see these numbers change based on our formatting. It has removed the decimal. Now we can apply conditional formatting to the data. So if you want, let's say in my example, any value above 90,000, we want highlighted it in a different color. We could click on the field that we want, to where we want the conditional format applied. On the left menu pane, you would click on Change Layout, and then you would say Define Conditional Styles. So I'm going to say 90,000, and I'm going to say Insert, or click Insert. Now I could just, once I've done that, it's pretty much the value above 90,000, value below 90,000, and I could give it one of the predefined here, and this is what it would look like, or I could say custom and give it any formatting I want for any value above 90,000. Let's just say poor. And we're going to hit OK. Now you can see all the values that are above 90,000 are highlighted, or the cells are highlighted in red. I'm just going to save this report. Okay, now again, we're still running the data in the limited view. If you come over here, what I like to call the play button, but it's the run button, and it will run with all data. And if we did apply any prompts, as I mentioned with the fiscal year, we could have reprompted or rerun it with the prompts. There are no prompts on this report, so we shouldn't get that. So I'll just hit this button, and as you can see, it's no longer in the limited data view. If we don't care to see the filters anymore, as we had discussed previously, you could double click or even single click here, and you could uncheck these filter or these show options, and you'll notice that all the information here that you see will no longer be there. The filters will still be applied, it's just you won't see this information. And I'm saving it. If you want to save this data or view the report in either Excel, in output to Excel or PDF, you could do that by going to Run Report in the left menu pane here. So our options are PDF format, Excel, CSV, XML. Most common is Excel, so I'm just going to go ahead and click in Excel here. Open. So let's see here. Close this. And now you will see my data has exported into Excel. We could have done the same for PDF if we wanted. Okay, so that's my the first report that I have. I'm not going to go into detail with Report Studio. I really feel that individuals should get comfortable with Query Studio before they move into Report Studio. Report Studio is, you can do a lot more things with it. I am going to show you how you could create a report in Query Studio, have it display in Report Studio where you can create more different formats or calculated fields and such. And the way to do that, you would go to this menu, the left menu pane again, go to manage file, and you can click on Open in Report Studio. Okay, so when you do that, we are now in Report Studio. Like I said, I don't want to go too much in depth in Report Studio. You can see the different query that we have, the items that we've put into our query. Over here, the filters that we have applied. So let's just say project ID. I'm going to double click on this. So when we created in the front end, we said anything that starts with C, and then we drag that information to the right to say I want to see all those projects. Well, that's still pretty static. It's displaying only the C projects, or the projects that start with C at that point in time that were in the database. If there were new projects added, as you can see, there's no more. I mean, it's limited to the ones that we see here. So in Report Studio, actually what you could do is, rather than have it like this and just limit it to these projects that start with C, we could say project ID like C, and that's just a wildcard, and we could apply it this way. And what that would do is it's going to show you all projects that start with C. So if you were to run this report 5 months from now and there were more projects that were added that start with the letter C, it would display those as well. Whereas with the other Query Studio report that we had, it's only going to display those few C projects that we initially started with. You could do the same thing here. As you can see, there are a lot more vendor IDs that start with the triple zeros. We could say, you know, like, and then the triple zeros, and apply the same here. And just to show you what this data would look like, it would look the same really. And we'll just run it in HTML here. And you can see it's still, even though we changed the data, you still see the project starting with C. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm not going to save this report, but this is now the Report Studio report that you could, as you get warm up to the capabilities, use the Report Studio portion. Okay, great. Okay, next, I'm just trying to cover the different, I guess, functionality that I discussed in the beginning in the PowerPoint slides. Didn't discuss all of them, so I'm going to create a new report. This time, instead of querying cost point, I'm going to query timesheet data from Deltek time and expense. So I've already got this report up. Again, the path could be different for your organization based on how it's configured. Many times it's the same, and it may just say cost, give you the option of a cost point, or TESS for time expense, and for Deltek time and expense, and self-service. So as you can see, I'm in the time and expense TESS area. And again, as I had mentioned, for the first report, I like to start with limited data, just so I get my information quicker, and so that I'm not taxing the system. This time, the title area, I don't care to give a title, so I could just click here, delete this portion. For right now, I'm going to continue to show the filters, or the different, the filtering, the sorting, and the suppression, so I'm going to leave that. And it's not displaying anything right now because we don't have any filtering applied. So I'm going to insert, and my first field that I'm going to insert is going to be my end date for a timesheet period end date. And from the beginning, what I want to do is I want to filter it for a particular period. So I'm just going to hit the column here, hit filter, and I'm going to select March 31st. So in this case, it's a range. So I'm saying I want from March 31st to March 31st. Again, I could apply the filter if I wanted to, or sorry, the prompt. And as it says, it'll prompt every time the report is run for what period you want your report to extract data for. Okay, now as you can see, we have that show filter, so it's on. Next, I don't care to see the period end date on my report. I only used it to filter on the report. So what I can do is just select the column or the data, either right click and click on delete, or hit the X icon here, the delete icon. And then I don't want to delete the filter again, so we would just uncheck this. Otherwise, it would delete the filter and delete the data displaying on the screen. I still want the filter to be applied, so I'm going to uncheck that and hit OK. And right now there's no data because we haven't inserted any more columns, but you can see that the filter of March 31st, 2014 is still applied. Let's go ahead and save that. I have my folders here, and I will say CRI CER presentation 2. Okay. Now I want project ID, which will be here. So in the timesheet line, I want project ID, I want employee ID, and entered hours. Again, I'm going fast within this. As I've mentioned before, this is something you will pick up as you run more or create more reports. Okay. You'll see here that we have entries with no data in here. So when I click the suppress icon here, by clicking that, it's going to ask, hey, do you want to suppress? What do you want to suppress on? I can say I do want to suppress the rows, and for all of these values that apply. And as you can see now, you don't see the zeros or the null, the blank fields. Next, we're just going to do a grouping on project ID. Okay, and this time let's do a calculation on the entered hours column here. And to do that, you just select the column that you want to do the calculation on, and right here you have a calculate icon. So you just click that. And then you would just provide the math that you want, the calculation that you want for this new field that we're going to create. So we're just going to say it's going to be a division. And we're going to divide by the number 88 because there are 88 working hours in this period. And then we could give it a name. I'll just call it new column. You could give any meaningful name you want. Okay, and now you will see that it is actually dividing these numbers here by the number 88 and giving you the the value. So obviously 88 divided by 88 is going to be 1. Let me save. Okay, so I'm going to right click on this new field or item that I created, new calculation. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Summarize. Let's go ahead and click on Advanced here. And I want to do an average. So these are the different summarizations that you could do rather than pick the generic total. I'll just select average. And I want to apply the calculation first and then summarize. Okay. Next, I would like to display this value as a percentage, not a number. So I could right click, I could format the data, and instead of a number I want percentage. Maybe 2 decimal places over I want to display the percentage, and maybe I don't care for the thousand separator, and we'll hit OK. For negative, these are your 2 options. Click OK. Okay, and now you'll see the value as a percent. Obviously for this report, pretty much what it's saying is for this project, for this employee, they've charged 16 hours, so 16 divided by 88, so 18% of the work hours in that period have been charged to this project. Again, we're displaying this in the limited view, so you are not seeing the totals here. To display the totals, obviously you can run once, or you can click over here and run it this way. And now you'll see the values up here. Same functionality. If we're done, we can save. We can come back here. Now we can't remove, since I've already removed the title, I can't remove the filtering and the suppression from this view. So actually the way I do that is if I go to change layout, if you go to edit title area, and you can remove or not show the different filtering that we've applied. Okay. And let's just run this again. So since I have some time, I'll actually show you the prompt feature. So let's go ahead and filter on employee ID, and I'm just going to recall one. So we have 1208 here. So I'm going to filter, and let's see. Okay, so first I'm only going to select the first employee that I see on the list. And then I'm going to prompt every time I run the report. So for this first time I run it, it's going to show me all data for this employee and the different projects they've charged. If I click on this play or run button, it's going to prompt me for the employee that I want to see the data for, since we checked that box. So this time, instead of this individual, we want to see it for, I think I said 1208, this individual. We'll hit finish. And now you see the data for this employee. We could have selected multiple employee IDs. So maybe I care for, I'm just going to select a range here, or I can pick and choose by hitting the control key and then selecting different fields or vendor IDs. And now we're seeing it for all the different employee IDs, sorry. We can save the report, and again, we could run. This time we can view it in PDF format. And here it is. That concludes my presentation. I hope this was valuable for you, and please visit our YouTube page for additional videos and our CRI for Results website for more videos like this, and possibly to get in touch with us for future help.